Hey everyone, Leo with Dreaming Tree, and today we're putting together our Some Bunny Gatefold card. If you're looking for a cute little card to send somebody for this upcoming Easter, look no further. We're going to put this together here. It's very simple, so let's just hop right to it. We're going to begin with the actual card base here. You can see in front of me, I've already folded it, and you'll notice that we have a series of little markers on here, and also there is a little B here so you know the correct orientation. This is your top, this is your bottom. So you'll notice here that it's straight here, and then we've got this little bump here. This little bump is going to go, it's going to be flush with the bottom. So this is going to be flush here at the bottom, and this is going to be flush against the inside so that the border on the top and the side and this little section here is equal. Okay, so let's get our glue going. Let's get it flowing, and let's get this in place. And now we do have some little cutouts for our letters there. We're going to be putting those in manually, and we'll do that here in a second. Try to get a little bit of glue in between the letters as well. Okay. Again, make sure that it is aligned at the bottom as well as all the way up against this inner edge here. And press that down. I need to pull myself in a little bit here. There we go. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing with the other side. Now, I already, and it's probably because of my glue bottle, I've got a little area here that I just didn't get enough glue on. So I'm going to take and add a little bit of glue to a scrap piece of paper, just kind of tuck it under there and paint some of that glue underneath that section that just isn't sitting completely flat for me. Okay, so we're going to grab this part here, it says Easter, and same thing, I'm just going to get it lined up there nicely. And get that in place. Now, I might need to swap out glue bottles here because this one is just not behaving. It's not flowing very well either. Okay, so again, make sure that it's nice and flush with the inner, with the opening here, and then flush at the bottom as well. There we go, press that down. Okay, and we're also going to put our little letters in place. And this is where the elusive silhouette pick-me-up tool is going to come in handy. Okay, so that should close nicely, and it does. Okay, so at this point, we're going to find our little letters. I've got my little pick-me-up tool, and I'm just going to, well, first I'm going to clean my glue bottle out because this is not working out very well for me. Okay, so I'm just going to take and just put a few little drops of glue, like tiny little dots, on each of these letters. And you pretty much get an idea of where these are going. You want to just simply make sure that you get them nice and centered in these little placeholders here. Do your best to get them nice and centered, and you don't need to worry about which A you're grabbing. They're all the same because there's an A here and an A here. Doesn't matter which one you grab. Just grab one, throw a few little dots here. What I'm doing is I'm just kind of squeezing a little bit of glue out of the tip and then just kind of pressing it up against the back of the letter to apply the glue. So I'm not actually spreading it on there. I'm almost pressing the letter up against the glue just to get one little tiny dot on there. Okay, so you get the idea here. And we'll just kind of work our way around until we get all of the letters in place. Now, if you do happen to get a little bit too much glue, on any section, just wipe it off before before you place it down so that you don't end up spreading and smearing a bunch of glue everywhere. Okay, so there's my other P. And this is probably the most tedious part of making this card, but not difficult at all. This actually reminds me of playing Operation, which was a fun game back in the day. I think we may own that game somewhere. Might be hanging out somewhere in the house. Kids probably lost all the little pieces, but that's okay. And just working my way here. So there is our happy. There we go. Just make sure you get it nice and centered, just like that. And moving on to the other side now. We don't often have sections like this where you're performing surgery, but this one pretty much called for it in order to achieve this look with the nice little purple, in my case purple or lavender, little border around the letters. I kind of had to do it this way. Okay, so you get the idea here. You can feel free to scrub forward to the next part if you want to pause me and listen to your podcast instead of listening to me blab. You're welcome to do that. The next thing I'm going to start working on is the actual bunny that goes on the face of this. So you can feel free to resume once you see me doing that. But either way, I will say that with the addition, I don't want to call it an addition, but since my girlfriend's kids have lived with me, Easter has taken on a whole new meaning. Prior to them living with me, Easter was mostly, me and my parents celebrating Easter. I was born and raised Catholic, so it has religious meaning and still has that meaning for the kiddos, but it's definitely a lot more fun to decorate for them. And they're still at an age where the Easter bunny is relevant, so that makes it fun. And instead of candy, I fill eggs with, well, we still give them candy, but I like to prank them and put weird stuff in their eggs, especially vegetables. I think last year I ended up putting little broccoli florets in some of the eggs just to throw them off a little bit and make them, give you that, what the heck is this face? What else did I put in there? I forget. Yeah, vegetables mostly. Okay, so we've got our letters in place. That looks nice. Okay, so on these panels here, you'll notice that there's a little Roman numeral 1 and then a little dash, or kind of just a score mark. Okay, and on this one, there's a Roman numeral 2 at the bottom and a little dash. So the 2 goes over here and the 1 goes over here. Now also, you'll notice on the card base, there's a marker here and a marker here, as well as a marker here and here and down here. And that is to help you with the alignment here. So you want to kind of nudge this up against the markers there. And it should sit just like that with the Roman numeral 1 here. And then the Roman numeral 2 is going to be down here. And I'll show you why in just a bit here. But let's get these in place first. And my glue bottle is so much nicer now after I kind of cleaned it out a bit. So again, when you get this in place, line it up with the little score marks there, first and foremost, and then pop that in place just like that. Okay, so again, Roman numeral 1 should be right about here, almost in the center of the card. And then we'll go here. Roman numeral 2 is going to be somewhere towards the bottom third of the card, roughly. Okay, so again, using those little score marks there to guide me and help me with the positioning. There we go. Okay. And while we're here, just because I like to do things, all the flat things first, we have these little cutouts, and this is a print and cut element. Optional, you don't have to use it. You can stamp whatever you want there if you'd like. We can get those glued in place, and also for these, there are little round markers for the bottom corners to help you with the positioning of these, because we've got, like I said, a little surprise. It's going to pop out here when we open the card up, and we're going to work on that here in just a moment. I'll show you how that all works. Okay, so again, there's markers here for this guy, and that'll just make sure that we get it all in the right spot. And again, you can cut out blank versions of this and stamp whatever you want there. So far, so good. Now the back, we've got this piece here. This is where we got plenty of room for a really large stamp, or you know, writing your little sentiment or your message or whatever it is you want to write. So we didn't want to leave off a nice large area where you can have, where you can sign your name, and you know, your family can sign their name, or the kids can sign their name. And this is going straight onto the back, nice and centered, so that you have an even border going all the way around. So careful with the placement of this. Make sure you get it pretty centered there. Well, mine's a little bit too high, but that's okay. It'll still look good. Press that down into place, just like that. And there we go, okay. So making our way here. And I think at this point, what we can do, let's put together our little bunny in the basket. Now, I've already put this one together. It's made up of these 3 pieces. I've got a pink layer here. We're gonna glue the white layer to the pink layer. Okay. And get that in place. And pop that right on there. It should fit nice and snug. We'll call that the shadow layer behind it. And the only part of it that you should be seeing at this point is the little pink showing through the centers of our little bunny's ears. And we'll finish that off with this piece. As you can see, I've not only inked, but also run this through an embossing folder to give it a little bit of texture. Okay, and I think I've got another clog here. You know, my problem with these glue bottles is that I always forget to put the cap on them when I'm done, because there's times where I'm in here for, you know, 6-7 hours crafting, and when I'm done, I just shut down and I forget to put my cap on. And that's what happens. Okay, so you're gonna do this twice, because we're gonna need 2 of these. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put together and actually install the little mechanism for our little bunnies here. So remember the little Roman numeral here with the little dash. Okay, what we're gonna do is this part here, we're gonna put glue on this one here. You'll notice that there's a Roman numeral 1 here, a very large one. We're gonna put glue on this, tuck it behind, well, kind of like this actually. And that is going to go right there. We're gonna use that little marker there below the Roman numeral 1 and tuck that right there, glue that down like so. So let's just start with our Roman numeral 1 here. We'll get our glue on this whole thing, and you want to make sure that you spread that glue out all the way to the very edge on both sides. We want that to sit nice and flush. And again, we're going to line that up with the little score mark, the vertical score mark there, as well as that little horizontal score mark just below the Roman numeral 1. Okay, just make sure it's nice and straight. Let's make sure it closes. Okay, so it does. And now what we're going to do is we're going to keep this card at a 90-degree angle here, like so. And what we want to do is we want to take and we're going to put glue on, actually let's make sure that that really sits before we move on here, but get your glue on this little tab here, spread that glue out all the way to the edges, okay, and we're going to take this and leave it at 45 degrees and then glue this down. Actually, you can see there's a little marker there. You want to glue that right to where that marker is. Just like that. Okay, and if necessary, you can take a little dowel and press down right there on that and just hold that until it sets. Okay, okay. So that's how that works, and we'll give that a few extra seconds to really set. Actually, it's already set. That's good. Okay, so let's grab our other one now. This is the one with the Roman numeral 2 here. Okay, so let's do that. Let's get our glue on this tab here with the Roman numeral 2. Just like that. Spread that glue out all the way to both edges. Whoops. I just stuck my finger in a bunch of glue. What am I doing here? Okay, and I'm going to take this tab here, and we're going to line that up just before where the fold is, that vertical fold for the actual gatefold, right there, and then have that flush with that little marker that's there. We'll press that down into place. Okay, give that a few seconds to set. Okay, now, again, there's a little marker here, and that is where this guy, the tip of that, is going to get glued to, just like that right there. Okay, so let's get some glue on this little tab. And spread that out. Okay. And get that lined up with the little marker there. And then you can take a little dowel and press down. And then before it fully sets, again, make sure that you can close it and that it sits flat when you close it on both sides, just like that. So you'll see here, little baskets are gonna come opening up for us. And so if you're noticing that maybe it closes, but it won't open, you may need to really press down on the little perforations there just to make sure that they're sitting nice and flat. Maybe they're not completely loose enough and they're kind of resisting a little bit, but that's essentially what it should look like, okay? So that's that. Now, what we can go ahead and do is glue the little bunny onto this guy here. So you can see this purple shadow layer there. We're going to put glue on this entire piece here. Go easy on the glue here. You don't need a ton, but just make sure you cover it well. Okay. And just line that up nicely with the existing little purple shadow layer. Press that down into place, and there we go. And we're going to finish this off with a little bit, with some flowers actually. That'll look nice. So you should have 2 of these. This is the second one. Get your glue on the back of this guy. And get that lined up. There we go, press that down. And there you go. Okay, so just a cute little, easy little mechanism just to make this, give it a little bit more of a wow factor. Not that much work, but definitely cute. All right, so now there are a series of little flowers that we're going to add to this. On the actual basket, we're going to add this little guy. And the way I did that was you're going to have two of these that look like this. There's also two that look like this with three petals, or yeah, three little leaves. The one with the basket is going to use the one with two leaves. And what I did was I just kind of pinched the tip of the little leaves here to give them a little bit of dimension. Now those are going to flatten out mostly, but that's okay. So we've got that, and here's our little flower. There's also a larger flower, this guy here. You can see the difference in size. Let me see here. Let me put them next to each other. You can see that that one's a little bit bigger. This guy is going to go on the little captions. The smaller one's going on the little baskets. So what I would suggest is just taking a little dowel and curling these little flower petals up and in a little bit. You don't need to do a lot because, again, once you close this card up, it is going to flatten out mostly. Okay, so we'll throw a little bit of glue in the center of the little leaves there and apply our little flower. Pop that right in the center. Press that down. Now, to finish this off, I would recommend either a nice little rhinestone or a pearl there. And to get this in place, simply going to take a little bit of glue on the back here, right on that little circle. And that is going to go right in the center of our little basket. Okay, now I've got some embossing on there, so I have to make sure I get plenty of glue on there, which I didn't, and probably be a little patient with it while it sets. There we go. Just like that. That looks good. We'll do the same thing with the other one. Get that in place while we wait for these to set. We can put our other little flowers in there. Just make sure you get it centered. Use the bunny's little head as your kind of guide or a ruler for where to place it. So there you have that. Okay, and now for the little signs here, we're going to put one set of flowers here, or just one flower here, and the other one's going to go up here. And now the way that I did that, just like with the one on the basket, just take and pinch these little leaves here, just right at the tip, and that almost naturally just kind of creates the illusion of the little vines you would see, or veins I should say, that you see on an actual leaf. And then you can take and curl these flower petals back just ever so slightly. Okay, throw just a little drop of glue here in the center of that little circle. I probably overdid it there. And we'll glue that right to the center. And again, later on, when you're kind of putting the finishing touches on this, feel free to add a little pearl or a rhinestone in the center of the flower to finish it off. Okay, and then we'll take and put a little bit of glue right on the back. And this one's going to be pointed up. I'm going to put it right in the corner here. Just make sure that you don't obstruct the little fold here so that when you close it, it doesn't crush it. Okay, whoops. I guess I didn't glue that one down yet. Throw a little glue on there. And again, this one's going to go right here, just like that. Okay. So there's the inside of our card. We've got the back. We've got the front mostly done. And again, like I said, those are going to flatten out. That's okay. All right, so all that's left to do is put together the little bunny that goes on the front of this. And I'll show you how that works here in a second. First, we're going to start off with this layer, the actual head. Make sure I don't lose my little nose, my pink little nose. Move those out of the way. Okay, so we've got these layers here. This is obviously, we've got a nice white glitter. We're going to put this black piece behind it. That's to thicken it up and also to create the little eye and his little eyebrow. So grab your glue. Let's get our glue on this piece here. We're going to glue that down to the black piece on both sides. Just like that. And get that in place. Just line it up nicely. Press that together. Wonderful. We'll do the same thing on the other side. And then the little ear layer, we're actually going to take some foam squares and kind of pop those out to make that dimensional. Now you don't have to do that. You can glue it down flat if you'd like, but I think you'll like adding a little dimension to it. So if you've got some foam squares, I would highly recommend taking advantage of that and using it. Okay, so we've got that lined up, mostly. There we go. I've got a little bit of fuzzies on there. Okay, it looks good. We'll give that a few seconds to fully set while we glue the ears together. So our ears here, you can see, it's just these two layers. I've taken this pink layer and I ran that through my tiny dot embossing machine, my embossing folder, I should say, just to kind of jazz it up a bit. So let's get our glue on this piece here, all the way down. Now this is going to be, actually, you know what? This shouldn't take long to dry at all. This is kind of a pearlescent paper, but it's not, it's still porous, so it should hold nicely. But because we're gluing this down onto an embossed section, it may take a little bit more work to get that to stick, just because it's not making full contact with this piece. So if you have a little brayer, that may actually help a little bit. There we go. And just press that down. Give that a few extra seconds to set. If you also embossed like I did. Okay. I've got a little section here that just didn't cut all the way through. It did, it just didn't come off the mat. Okay, so there's that. Just make sure everything's making good contact all the way around. If it's not, grab a piece of scrap and just kind of paint a little extra glue under the areas that are not playing nice. And press that down. There we go. Okay, we'll give that a few extra seconds to set. These are looking good, as are these. And we'll do one more here. I've got one more ear to take care of, and we're pretty much on the last leg of this guy here. We do have a coordinating envelope to go with this, as it holds true for pretty much any card, actually every card that you find on our site. Always going to have a coordinating envelope to go with, so don't need to go looking for an envelope. We've got you covered there as well. Okay, so get that lined up nicely and press that down. Make sure it's lined up. There we go. Yeah, the brayer definitely helps with pieces like this where we've got embossing, and this is actually, this glitter paper on the back of it is not as porous as, say, your standard cardstock. So whatever additional pressure you can supply if you're using this sort of combination like I am, it will only help make things easier for you. Okay, so there's that, and it's looking pretty good. I'm going to press down a few more times, just make sure it's making good contact. And our next step is going to be putting the little bottom part of our bunny in place here. Now remember this little bump down here in the bottom of this panel? Well, we're going to take our cute little bunny and we're going to glue him down, and he's going to be flush with the bottom and flush with this side here up to this point, and obviously the ears will have a little bit of green showing there. So go ahead and get your glue on this entire piece. And we're back to applying glue to our AC cardstock, so that's good. Okay, again, make sure you got it nice and flush there. And then the rest of it will fall into place. Here we go. And we'll do the same thing with the other half. Excuse me, Mr. Bunny's ears. It's going to be a cute card. Okay. There we go. And this one, of course, we're going to down at the bottom here, we're going to get that aligned with the bottom, nice and flush, as well as the inside, nice and flush, so that when we close this up, it should kind of meet in the center there, so it almost looks seamless. Of course, I mean, there's a cut going right down the center, so it's not going to look perfectly seamless, but we can get pretty darn close. Okay, so keep holding that down, make sure it's making good contact. Our bunnies are still popping out, that's awesome. And now, before we put the ears on, got a couple more things that we just need to do here. We have a little flower at the top there, and it's going to go like this. They're cut in half, obviously, but the leaves here are going to be pointing upward, okay, not down, but up. And there's little markers here to help you with the positioning on that. You can take and pinch these, just like we did the inside. And then what we'll do is we'll just throw a little bit of glue on this little half circle here. I'm going to hit that with my finger since there's tons of glue on there. And that's going to go right here. You're going to use that little marker there as a guide. And again, just like with the bunny, you want to make sure that's flush with the inside of the card and press that down. Do the same thing on the other side. Take and pinch the tips of the leaves there. The leaf, not leaves, we only have one. Tiny little bit of glue on this half circle. It's down here. Okay, and again, you have a little marker here as well, but you also want to make sure that you get that aligned with the little leaf on the other side. Okay, there we go. And then we have a half of a flower. It's going to go right here, just like that. So what we want to do is we're going to put glue just on this little leaf here, just like that. And if you want, it's kind of a little bit different because it's a half of a flower, but you can kind of curl these petals in just a tiny bit and just get that nice and centered there. Make sure that that is also nice and flush with the card, like so. And we'll get our other side and curl these two petals here. I'm just going to do these two and get a little bit of glue there. Now the important thing here is to make sure that when you put this other half in place that it matches up with the other one so that it looks like one solid flower, just like that. Okay, so almost done here. Now on this flower we have these two little half circles that in my case were cut in a white glitter, and I'm just going to throw just a few tiny little dots of glue on there. Actually, it was almost like 1.5 little dots. And that's going to go right in the center of the flower. Again, that needs to be flush with the center of the card. So you can see that little half circle there. And again, I'm going to take the other one here and throw our glue on there. Just make sure that when the card's closed, that this little circle matches up with the other one. Just to make it all look seamless. As seamless as you can get it. Don't rack your brain. I'm trying to get it immaculate, but that looks really good. And that pretty much lined up perfectly. Now, one last thing here for our bunny before we put our ears on is we do have a little pink nose that's going to get glued to the very corner there, and just make sure that it looks like well, it looks like a little piece of pizza or a little triangle where you've got the point on the bottom corner there. Okay, so just throw a little bit of glue on here. If you have one of these handy pick-me-up tools, which many of you have actually won as prizes from our many giveaways, feel free to use that. It sure makes life a lot easier. Okay, and that's going to go right there like that. Okay, we're going to grab the other one and put that one into place as well. It's got to have a cute little nose. And I'm just kind of dabbing that glue, spreading it out. And again, just trying to make sure that everything looks nice and seamless when the card is closed. Just like that. Oops. I got more glue on my finger than I do on the card or on the actual paper. I'm sure many of you have experienced that. That's okay, it happens. I don't like to edit out my mistakes because I'm a mere mortal. And this time I'm going to use my dowel to hold that down while I lift up. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay, so the nose, cute little nose is in place. Now all that's left to do is put some little foam squares on my bunny's ears. Let's see here, got some large ones, that'll be perfect. So we'll throw one here, and I think I could probably get away with one here. Let's see, a little push test, that's perfect. Don't need to overdo it with the foam squares. I think that'll hold up nicely. Peel those off. And obviously, one's going to go on one side, the other's going to go on the other side. And we just need to match that up with the existing little shadow layer there. But again, you want to make sure that this part here is nice and flush up against the card, the opening of the card. There we go. Cute. And the other one is going to go like this. There we go. That's awesome. Yay. Okay. So that's it for the actual card. Now you'll notice that I got a little carrot here. Where does that go? Well, that is actually for our envelope. So here is the handy little envelope. I've already pre-folded everything. What we're going to do is we're going to glue this to our flap. Okay, so we need to get our glue on the whole flap here. And towards the tail end here, we'll throw a little bit of glue around the little cutout as well. There we go, just a little bit here and there. Okay, so then take this piece, and I'm going to slide it right up to the little fold there. Make sure it's centered. Get it as centered as you can, and then take this and just bring it down like that. Press that down into place, just like that. Here we go. And this envelope's actually a little bit different than what we're used to with our envelopes here. Open that up, and now we've got some tabs here and here. So go easy with the glue here. For some reason, I noticed that I always end up like warping these little sections here because sometimes I use too much glue, and it helps to spread it out nice and thin to avoid that warping. And just take this side, bring it over, and press that down. Should match up nicely at the bottom and the side. There we go. There we go. Okay. And now, all that's left to do is put our little carrot. The carrot's going to go just right here, just like that. Throw a little bit of glue in the back of our carrot. And pop that right into place. And there we go. Okay, so that's that. And let me see if this thing's dry yet. I probably shouldn't rush, but I just want to show you, keep it consistent, that it will fit beautifully into our nice little envelope. And there is our beautiful card with a couple of bunny surprises inside. And I think that's it, guys. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the process. Take a look at the final photo. I'm gonna add a little bit of embellishing to this. We'll do probably a little white pupil for the bunny's ears. Probably use either pearl or maybe a liquid pearl. Now these little cutouts here in the corners, perfect place for a little rhinestone or a pearl. And what else are we gonna do? Might add a few little rhinestones here in the corners, and definitely on the flowers to finish those off, but I think that's pretty much gonna do it. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please take a moment and hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. And if you make this or anything from our new bundle, I would love to see it, and so would the rest of our community. So head over to our Facebook or your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Group. Or you can just type in this little URL here at the bottom. It'll take you right there, and you can join us and inspire us and be inspired. So that's pretty much it. I had a great time. I hope you did as well, and I look forward to crafting with you again.